This July, Bishop Bambera will be leading a delegation of young adults from the Diocese of Scranton to Krakow, Poland, to take part in this year's celebration of World Youth Day. Joining me today to discuss this pilgrimage in greater detail, it's a pleasure to welcome Shannon Kowalski, who is the youth minister at St. Catherine of Siena Parish in Moscow. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Dominic Constantino, who is the youth ministry director and music ministry director at Exaltation of the Holy Cross Parish in Hanover Township. Dominic, Shannon, thank you so much. Shannon, for people who may not be all that familiar with World Youth Day, tell me why you're so excited about this particular year, and also why Poland?
Sure. Well, why World Youth Day? It's a gathering for not just American young Catholics, but really young Catholics from around the world, hence, the name World Youth Day. I think this year it's so exciting because of the Year of Mercy, and being in John Paul's home country of Poland. That's extra special, considering that he was just canonized a saint not too long ago. So I think for very many reasons this year is exciting, and this World Youth Day is exciting.
Dominic, when we're looking at this particular trip, ostensibly we're there because we're excited about being with Pope Francis. But beyond that, why is it also such a wonderful experience in terms of exploring the history and traditions of Poland?
Well, I think one of the great things, Stan, is Poland is such a heavily populated Catholic country, and one of the things that we just found out is over 90% of the residents in Poland identify themselves as Roman Catholic, and most of them, the surprising part, they're practicing Roman Catholics. And on any given day, the churches are filled, and on Sundays in particular, you're standing outside of the churches because it's that crowded, which is such a wonderful testimony to the faith of the people in Poland. And as Shannon said, with Pope John Paul II and so many of the other saints, there's just so many wonderful sites that we're going to have the opportunity to see while we're in Poland, in addition to all the World Youth Day activities.
Speaking of that, in addition to the World Youth Day activities, what are some of the side trips that you'll be making?
I know some of the ones that I'm pretty excited about in particular. Our Lady of Czestochowa, we're going to see the shrine and visit the Black Madonna, Auschwitz, which is also very important, I think, for us to visit and go and pray and explore, and John Paul's hometown, and some other places in between. So there's lots for us to do before and after, I think, the events of World Youth Day, which is exciting.
And speaking of the World Youth Day events, again, for a young Catholic who has never participated in World Youth Day, what exactly will transpire during the course of those few days where they're actually in Krakow preparing for the arrival of Pope Francis?
Well, one of the great things, Stan, is we're going to have the opportunity not to just be with American young Catholics, but Catholics from all around the world. And at any given point throughout World Youth Day, we might be at a Mass, Eucharistic Adoration, catechesis, and the people standing next to us might be from France, Iraq, Australia, all around the world. So it kind of gives you the sense of the church at large. We are one church, and just to be able to experience it, and really eye-opening that so many people, there's estimated there's going to be over 2 million people at World Youth Day this coming year, just to be there with people from all over the world and really see the faith on live and people on fire, and really trying to grow in their faith and grow as intentional disciples. It's just going to be a great experience.
During the course of a typical day for World Youth Day activities, what usually transpires?
In the morning of each day, there's opportunities for catechesis. So what that means is either a nationally known speaker, a layperson, clergy, archbishop, cardinal, anybody virtually from the church will come and give catechesis, so a session on a particular subject of the faith. So the day usually begins with that. There's Mass every day, opportunities for confession. Besides catechesis each day, World Youth Day opens with Stations of the Cross with the local archbishop, which this particular time is Cardinal Dziwisz, which is exciting because of his connection to Pope John Paul. And then after the days of catechesis, there's closing Mass with our Holy Father and a vigil, including Eucharistic adoration with, as Dominic said, 2 million people. So a typical day has a lot to it, and there's certainly a lot of ways to explore your faith in every day, really, of World Youth Day. So,
Dominic, one of the things that's nice about this particular trip also is the fact that Bishop Bambera will be leading the pilgrimage. Why do you think that actually adds to this particular pilgrimage?
Well, I think one of the great things is for young adults that we have a bishop here in the Diocese of Scranton who is going to take 10 to 12 days to spend with us, to accompany us on this pilgrimage, and he's going to be with us throughout the whole thing, throughout all the sightseeing, all the different shrines, the World Youth Day activities, Mass, adoration, everything. So I think it's going to be really eye-opening for young adults to experience this with our bishop, and I think it's going to be great because we're all going to grow in our faith together with Bishop Bambera. And I'm excited to see when we come back here to the Diocese of Scranton how it's going to really empower the diocese at large.
Now, I know both you and Shannon will be going on this pilgrimage, but as I recall, 3 years ago I was interviewing you and one of your friends when you went to Brazil for World Youth Day. Reflecting on that trip, why was that such a highlight in your life?
I've had the opportunity to experience 2 World Youth Days, not only Rio, but Madrid in 2011. I think World Youth Day holds a special place in my heart and my faith because of all that it offers. Like Dominic said, the fact that you can be at Mass with somebody from, halfway across the world from where you're at. If I had to put a short answer to it, the sense of faith and community that you experience at World Youth Day, it's an awesome opportunity to explore your own faith, but to kind of make connections with other people and how they experience their faith. The third time around, I'm hoping to get something different from it. But in my past experiences, I know that whatever I'm going to be looking forward to will be amazing and life-changing.
I was just thinking about the Pope's recent visit to the States. And every day it was amazing as I was watching reports on the secular media and on EWTN. The excitement that this man generates. Dominic, what do you think it is about Pope Francis? Why do so many people admire and respect him?
Well, I think first and foremost, when you see him walking in the streets on the Pope Mobile and he gets out and he's kissing babies and he's blessing those that are handicapped and have problems, you really see the face of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And we know that if Jesus was here today, that's what he would be doing. He'd be blessing these babies. He wouldn't be afraid of getting out of a Pope Mobile per se. But I think his love, his caring nature, and the fact that he's so human and down to earth, people of all ages really could relate to him and love him. And I think especially people in our generation in their 20s and 30s really seem to be coming back to the church now because of him. Throughout the time when he was here in the United States, on social media, Twitter, Facebook, I was scrolling through my news feed, and so many people that I never knew that acknowledged their faith or had a belief in a higher power were retweeting stuff about the Pope. They were posting statuses about Pope Francis giving blessings and stuff. And it was so awe-inspiring that his simple acts of love, caring nature coming here to the United States is really impacting people of all ages, particularly young adults our age. And now they're coming back to church. So it's something really great to see.
I was overwhelmed by the excitement in this country, but what about your trip to Brazil? Were they just as excited down there when the Pope arrived?
Oh, absolutely. I think more so than anybody, the Brazilians were excited to host our Holy Father. It was an honor for them, and they really made that known throughout the country. I think no matter your nationality, I think the excitement for Pope Francis is contagious, as Dominic said. Pope Francis kind of brings out the best in everybody, and I'm sure the people of Poland will probably be more excited than the people of Brazil were to host our Holy Father.
Dominic, when you think about it, the young Catholics from the diocese will only be there for a few days, but when they come home, what are you hoping they will return with?
Well, one of the things that we're hoping for is we know that there's some young adult groups meeting throughout the diocese, and there's some parishes and programs that are starting, but our hope is that hopefully we could form a delegation to accompany Bishop Bambera on this pilgrimage, and then when we come back, from Poland. Hopefully that we could kick off young adult ministry even more in the diocese and really bring back people our age who might have stepped away from the church for a while, and really bring about the sense of young adult ministry and people our age being involved in church and caring about their faith.
Shannon, there is possibly someone watching this interview today that's saying, yes, I would like to be part of this. How can they get more information?
The easiest way, I think, for people our age to get information is to go to Facebook. The Office of Parish Life does have a Facebook page, and they have been posting information. It's also on the diocesan website. So there's lots of ways for you to get the information. I'm sure if you got in touch with the diocese itself, they would be willing to send information. I know Catherine Butel has been very good about getting it out to as many people as possible. So Facebook, the diocese website, or just simply call the diocese.
Dominic, one last question. When I think about the pressures, challenges that young Catholics face today, in light of that, why do you think events like this are so important for young Catholics to take advantage of?
Well, I think one of the things young Catholics, whether high school, college, or young adults in the workforce like Shannon and I, it's really important sometimes there's so many stresses in the world. So when you're in high school, the stress is placed upon you. What are you going to major in when you go to college? Are your SAT scores high enough? When you're in college, you have the pressures of, well, am I going to get a job after college, and just the strains of the college life. And then when you get into the workforce, there's other stresses of finances and relationships and stuff like that. So every so often it's wonderful just to experience stuff like this, step away from all the stresses of the world, and really experience the true presence and be able to open yourself up to the faith and grow as intentional disciples. And it just betters your life, and it gives you really a new perspective. And I think it's something that's really needed in this world, because so many are troubled, and we know in so many parts of the world there's so much fighting, war, and trouble. And if everyone had the opportunity to experience something like World Youth Day or NCYC, or even some of our diocesan programs at least some point in their life, I think the world would be a much better and happier place.
Shannon, as someone who has experienced 2 World Youth Days already, why do you consider it a life-changing experience?
I think our generation, more than anybody, is looking for somebody to believe in them and invest in them. And young adults today, as Dominic said, face a lot of things from a lot of different angles. And the church has always been a place that I've felt comfortable and at home. And at World Youth Day, you get that sense. You get that sense of a welcoming back wherever you've been, whatever you're facing. It's a time to recharge and reconnect. It's a long week. It's a busy schedule, but more than anything, it's energizing. Energizing by your faith, energizing in your personal life and everything. So I think World Youth Day has so much to offer young adults in way of that. It's really geared towards what we're facing today as young adults, and that's why it's so appealing.